Good morning, guys. Welcome in. How is everybody doing? Spliff, Monique, Prince, David, welcome in, guys. How's everybody doing? It is an absolutely beautiful Tuesday morning. Welcome in. Beach on Trades, Express, Ray, Sue. I'm doing well. I am doing well. I'm a little bit under caffeinated this morning. I could feel it. I feel it in the air, a little bit low energy this morning. But we are absolutely melting today on the market. I want to talk a little bit about the meltdown. I wouldn't say meltdown. It's a little bit far-fetched to say meltdown, but given the current state of the market, a little bit of downside, we like to say meltdown. So we are a little bit excited for this because this is what you've been waiting for, right? We've been waiting for this market pullback for a while, and we pulled back to some critical levels this morning. And I think many of us have positioned ourselves for this. I'll talk a little bit about. Someone said, "Who's Big B?" You got a lot to learn, Sleepy. You got a lot to learn. Sometimes my camera is really big, and I'm Big Head Brett. But today, not so much. Today we are perfectly positioned on the screen, with a perfect dynamic between the screen size and the video face cam. Right. So first of all, welcome in. Welcome in. I want to dive into today's session pretty quickly. I don't want to spend too much time on introductions. There's only one announcement I have to make. We've paid everybody out except for NorCal. I think, or no, not NorCal. Who is it? Rick the Ruler. Rick the Ruler. NorCal, you were from last giveaway. I remember NorCal was from last giveaway. Rick the Ruler is the only one that has not been paid out yet. I'll be paying him out at the end of the stream today, or probably after live trading. So that is it. You guys, if you didn't win, you didn't win. Pretty much everyone has accepted the reward, so you're all shit out of luck, okay? But there will be another one in November and December, okay? So let's move on, guys. I want to go over econ data briefly, and then I want to spend the majority of today's session talking about charts because it's a very important session going into our morning, right? Today's session here on the econ data side, it is important, right? Today we are Tuesday, November 4th. Today's session we have factory orders and we have jolts, okay? There are a lot of things happening here in the pre-market session. I want to talk a little bit about this. There are a lot of people coming in talking about the softer labor market, and you saw some meta layoffs. You saw some layoffs in tech side yesterday. Pretty broad-based layoffs in tech side, and everyone's citing one thing. The common denominator between his layoffs is AI, right? AI taking up responsibilities, no longer needed these particular roles, and you're seeing a little bit of sell-off from that reason, right? I know people are looking at PLTR and saying the reason why we're selling off is because of PLTR. They're seeing him selling off, so okay, it must be because of those names selling off. But it's not just because Nvidia and PLTR are selling off. There are some broad-based concerns here on the overall economy, mostly due to the labor market, and these things are expected, and we can only expect these things to get worse, right? And honestly, completely disconnect yourself from trading and econ data, right? Just because there's a deteriorating labor market, it doesn't mean necessarily the market goes down. But I do think that when you hear about these things, you should understand one thing. You should understand that even though it may not impact you from a stock market perspective, right? You should think about it from a, hey, how much money do I have in my bank perspective? Because you don't know when it's bad until it's bad. And I would say protect your money right now. This is not, I know I shouldn't even be talking about this. I'm just a chart guy, but I do think you should protect your money because I think you're only going to see these things get worse and worse and worse. And it may be like this for a long time, right? So just keep that in mind as we progress through the next few months, right? Tuesday session, we have our factory orders, you have jolts. Okay, so we get some more information about the job market here at 10 o'clock, but I'm going to guess it's probably going to be a little bit gnarly there. Okay, in terms of our earnings reports going into our session here, we have Tuesday, we had in the pre-market session, we had Uber, right? Uber, Shopify, we had Spotify, Pfizer, all in the pre-market session. Yesterday, we had the two big guys. We had Palantir and HIMS. Both a little bit frothy this morning, right? A little bit downside here in PLTR. And then Wednesday session, we have Novo and VO. We have, AMD. AMD in the after, almost forgot, AMD in the after hours today. So AMD going to be one of the biggest ones going into our after hour session, today's session. AMD and SMCI. And someone said, so sell call leaps. No, right? Understand that not everything moves down in a down market, right? Not everything moves up in an up market, right? The same way that not everything moves up in an up market. For example, you want an example of this, right? Look at TGT, right? Look at TGT. Is TGT in a bull market right now compared to SPY? I mean, absolutely not, right? Not everything moves up in a bull market. For example, you can go over to like UNH, right? Not everything moves up in a bull market. There are some names that move down. Obviously, UNH is selling because this is broad-based news here, but the idea still stands. And if you take that exact thought and you flip it around, not everything moves down in a down market. In fact, some names are going to move up. And so you have to understand that buying, I don't really like shorting the market on put leaps. What I will do is I will hedge my portfolio. For example, if I want to hedge my portfolio, I'll buy a little bit of maybe some VXX longs. Maybe I'll buy maybe a Nvidia short, right? But it's going to be relatively short dated. I'm not going to sit there with like 3-year out expiration to short Nvidia because the market, generally speaking, always moves up. Even a little blips down lower, but usually moves up. So understand that if you are hedging, it's short term. Okay, short term hedges are fine, but the best thing you can do with a long term portfolio in a market like this is look to see where there is value for longs, right? And there are value for longs outside of the tech space. Right now, we're so focused on tech. The past 3 years, we've been so focused on tech. I think it's an important time to say, hey, hold on a second. What's not so hot right now? Well, you have your retail names, you have your defensive names, you have your healthcare names, right? You have your consumer cyclical names, right? You have your everything consumer discretionary you want to avoid. But those are the things you want to go to, right? The names that are staples or consumer staples rather, right? So think about those for longs. But guys, today's session, we're not about that. We're not about that, right? This is not why we're here. We're here for one thing. We're here for our charts for today's session, and let's dive into it. So here on the SPY chart, you can see that we've moved down and we've sold off into critical demand, right? This is so important. We've sold off, but we sold off into a critical demand zone. We've been talking about this demand zone for probably 3 weeks now, right? 3 weeks, no, a little less than that, probably 2 weeks now about this 674 demand zone. And we've tapped it here in the pre-market session. You go to the 1 hour time frame here, and you can see that we are 100% holding a very key level here into this morning, 674. And guys, just so you know, I'll say something, right? Mike and Michael Burry, very different people, okay? Mike actually caught the top of PLTR, caught the top of some other names. Michael Burry has been wrong like 19 times, okay? We don't have the same capital Michael Burry has. We don't do that, right? So even though you might have some shorts in your portfolio, you don't want to be short the whole market forever. You want to look for names that are maintaining well. Look, if you caught Nvidia shorts into lows, it's amazing. Look for lower. But you have to understand that in the long term, the market moves higher, right? And Michael Burry, to be honest, I've seen the things he's in. If we followed Michael Burry for the last 6 to 8 months, he told us to sell QQQ $120 ago. $120 ago, right? So understand, like there's a nice movie made about him, right? You caught a nice short back in 08 and 09, right? But it's a different market then, okay? So let's focus on right now. And right now here on the SPY, the big thing to discuss is a 674. If we are above this level, we are maintaining a very bullish structure here. But here's the problem. Can we just long this right now at this exact low and look for upside? I don't know if we can properly do that yet. The reason why is because even though we were at our critical demand zone here this morning, 674, we were maintaining this level at the first tap of that critical demand zone. What are we going to do here, right? Are we going to rally higher? If we rally higher today, I think that we go into 680, but 680 is still a very big area for shorts. 680 is still that gap fill level up above us, in which case I would be actually watching this level for shorts. The first tap of 680, I'm looking for shorts today, okay? If you pull back to 674, I would be careful of going short there because that's a big demand zone. In fact, I would actually look for my longs here at the 674s, right? If I see us pull back there and I get confirmation, I'll go long at 674. So my main watch this morning is trading off the 674s and is trading off the 680s, right? I'm looking to see, can I get the 680 rejection, or can I get the 674 demand bounce? Now, if the market does reclaim, right? the market does reclaim, for example, we reclaim 680, then we are fully back in bull structure again, and we can look for longs back into all-time highs. This scenario tree right here, right in front of us right now, is the scenario tree we are probably going to be talking about for the next week, right? This is the most important thing. We may, if we hold 674, we should in theory grind higher to 680, but 680 is the supply that we've created from yesterday's session. It's the Monday lows, it's the Friday's lows, and it's the Thursday's lows. If we can push into there, the question mark that we have to ask ourselves is, do we clear the 680s? If then, upside. If we fail the 680 in first tap, if then, downside. That is the key thing to discuss going into our Tuesday morning here, and probably is going to be the case for a few days in a row. Okay, that's what I'm seeing here on the SPY chart, right? So let's move on, guys. Let's go to ES chart. On the ES chart, I have to make some changes here. Okay, the first change I want to make is you can see first of all that we are at demand right now. This whole area between 6788 and 6800 ES is a demand you don't really want to be short into, right? You guys can see it. Can you guys all see what I'm saying here? You can see all of these consolidation highs. All these consolidation highs. Javon, I'm sorry you did not win. I apologize. I just looked over the chat. No, you did not win. You did not win, but maybe for November, you can enter again, okay? But 68, that just caught me off guard. 6,800 is your key demand zone, and we are maintaining it. We are maintaining it right now. If we hold this level, we'll see upside. If you fail this level under 67.90, 67.87, then obviously big downside of the market. But of course, right now, we are trading back into critical demand zone. If we hold this level, we're going to go higher, right? Back into 68.43. 68.43, though, is your critical supply zone. This is the question mark level. Do we hold above it and see upside back in highs again? Or do we fail it and see sustained downside into lows? That is the question mark, okay? So level one, level two, those are the two most important levels to go to watch going into our Tuesday morning, right? And here's the thing. I can't always tell you guys what to do. I'm not always going to be the one that tells you what to do, because again, that's not really why I'm here. I'm here, and this is important because I feel like sometimes I have to explain this. My job here in the morning, right? My I shouldn't say job. I don't get paid for this, right? But my role here in the morning, what I'm doing here every morning is I'm trying to show you guys the where, right? I'm not trying to show you guys what to do at every moment in time. I'm showing you guys where I would be acting, where I would be looking for entries, where I would be studying the 5-minute intraday time frame to see, hey, is there a potential reversion trade here, or a rejection trade here, or a continuation trade here, right? And so here this morning, it's the 67.87s to 6,800 here ES, in which case you may hold here and be a long trade, right? Or you may see us fail back under and see a short trade. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying where to watch it, right? This is your critical demand zone, and we're trading back in demand. Series of highs, series of lows produced here now. Do we hold here? If then upside, but of course, only back into the 68.40s, which is my big level of supply, right? That's what I'm seeing here going into our charts on the ES and SPY chart, right? QQQ. On the Qs. A discrepant Qs and SPY. This is where things become interesting, okay? So we have a very good read here in SPY's chart. You're very happy. We just have a nice read here in SPY. We can see we're trading in demand. The question is, do we push into supply? We can short supply, or do we reclaim supply, in which case we can look for upside move, right? So we know what to do here on SPY's chart. But then you watch QQQ, and Qs are doing a completely different thing. Let's talk about this. On the Qs chart, you can see basically what's happening right now is we are failing back below a 623 demand, right? So you can see we had remember the gap up from Friday? Remember the major gap up from Friday to Monday? And everybody was like, what the hell is going on, right? Big gap up in the market. And then all we did was talk about, hey, let's watch the 618 pull back long for the upside move, right? And then all it did, instead of pulling back, was it did what? It just did this, right? It just rallied higher, maintained level, maintained level, maintained level. And finally, this morning, you're seeing us clock under the 623. So we're now clocking under 623. The question mark is, where do we go? My argument here is we should go lower here in Qs. There's no doubt about it, right? QQQ should go lower here. As long as we maintain under 623, this is your bull bear pivot here in Qs. This is the most important thing to watch this morning, is Are we under 623? If then, downside at 618, because this is your gap fill level. You have a gap fill between 623 and 618, right? And if you do move higher today here in Qs, it's only as far back as 630, in which case I'll look for a short entry there. So for me on Qs, I'm actually mostly watching shorts here. I'm watching the shorts at 630, and I'm watching the breakdown continuation trade here at 623. Those are the two things I'm watching here. Now, of course, if we just maintain demand here, I wouldn't trade it, right? I would wait for us to pull back into supply and then trade the short, right? But as of right now, Qs is mostly looking to downside, right? Because we haven't filled this gap down below yet. But SPY is obviously, SPY's already filled the downside gap. SPY has already completed its major gap fill level. And why is this happening, right? Why is SPY is at your demand and Qs are just starting to clear that demand zone? Well, the market isn't always so simple, right? And that's just a simple way to put it. That's the only way to put it. The market will do things that are discrepant. And right now here, QQQ is discrepant from SPY's. QQQ wants more downside. SPY has completed its downside move and is at demand. So the question mark is who's right here? Time will tell, right? We just don't know yet. But as of right now here in Qs, it looks like more downside is likely in the 618, right? So let's move on, guys. I want to go over a few more tickers, and I think we're gonna actually, you know what? Let's dive into our indices. Okay. One last index I want to do is at VXX. If you guys are in the chat, you guys know this is what I positioned myself into for the month of November, and today we're seeing a little bit of some frothiness, right, on the VIX side of things. And we don't usually discuss VIX. We don't usually talk about VIX. And I think if you are watching VIX, you should be watching VIX rather than VXX. Because if you look at this chart, you're going to see that we tend to, when we hold demand here on the 14.2s to 15 area here on VIX, we tend to trade higher into the upper 20s, right? Lower 20s rather, 22, 23s. And so I would expect more volatility to spike the next coming days, which is a good thing for options traders, right? This is a good thing. Not talking about position trading or anything here. I'm just talking about the pure idea of we should see more volatility, which is a good thing for us. That means higher VIX means more opportunity, right? Especially for options traders. So here, obviously, VIX moving higher. I think we move into 22s. If you are trading VXX with me, that means we're going to go into probably the 40s, right? So if we go to 40 here in VIX or VXX, then we'll be looking for full profit there. So that's what I'm seeing here on the VXX chart. Okay. NQ briefly. I know I don't go over NQ often, but there's one thing to discuss here at NQ. You can see it. I want to just do a reset here, a very brief reset. You can see that here on the NQ chart, we are trading. We are looking to trade the downside break today, right? This is why Qs and ES are so different. We are looking to trade this downside gap fill under 25,715 for the move into 25,565. And ES has already done that, right? So it's an interesting open here with tech being different from the ES charts, and I think we must be aware of that. Who is right? Does this hold here because ES holds, or does it fail back below our demand zone for the downside move? And I know we can't short this yet, right? This is not a short yet, but if we do fail back under the 25,700s, right, this is absolutely a downside short. So keep that in the back burner today. These are the most important levels here in NQ, and then obviously above us we have the 25,900 as your next level of supply, right? So if we do move higher, that's your supply rejection level, okay? So that's what I'm seeing here on the NQ chart. Level 1, level 2, and demand zone level 3, okay? All right, that is it for my indices. I wanted to go over a few more today just because I think it's important to discuss that when we have these big downside days. What I want to do is I want to move over to our actual charts today. We'll go over some equities. If you guys have tickers you want me to go over, I'll try to go over it. But I'm going to go over my top watch first. So let me just get some water and we'll dive into it. Where's the energy this morning? I feel like because I'm low energy, everyone else is low energy. I'm super low. I don't know why I'm low energy today. I need some caffeine. I'm yawning. I'm falling asleep. I'm stumbling on my words. Sometimes when I'm tired, I stumble on my words. All right, let's go over to Apple. So Apple. Okay, so Apple chart. There we go. Yeah, you're whispering. I know. I feel like I'm whispering more than usual. All right. On the Apple chart, what did we say yesterday in Apple, right? I was really happy with this trade, okay? Because even though it was not the sexiest of the bunch, even though it was not the best of all the trades, we came into the pre-market session on Monday, and you can call me a donkey, you can call me butterball, right? But this was the trade of the day for me. Okay, it was slow. It kind of sucked to be in it, right? And I was a little sweaty, but this was the beautiful trade. Okay, and remember I told you guys something. I said about 10 minutes ago. I said that I will tell you guys my bias, and I'll tell you guys the where, right? And the where is the most important part. So if you guys saw, we spoke about this Friday breakdown. So remember we had the 269 level. We said, hey, this is the weakest chart in the bunch going into our pre-market session. And it was. Look at this chart here. Look at this big downside move here on Monday morning compared to SPY, right? SPY did move down too, but Apple moved down considerably more, right? And so we broke down under 269. We came back up and we retested it. And this is your where right here, right? This is your where right here in the intraday time frame. You see a beautiful little pin bar, right? We shorted, I didn't go short right here. This is not where I shorted yesterday. I didn't short the high of that candle. I had no idea it was going to reject there. I waited for us to get some degree of confirmation. I went short right here on that candle, the start of that opening candle here, right before the big downside candle. I shorted here 268.3, and I got the move into 266.5, and that was my day yesterday. Very surgical short on the Apple chart. Now today's session here on Apple, what would I watch this morning? Well, the one thing I'll say here is we were relatively weak yesterday's session, right? This was a relatively weak chart yesterday's session, but this morning we are no longer relatively weak, right? The market's selling off. Look at SPY selling off with a gap fill, with a gap down, and then you have Apple chart, which is actually maintaining and not gapping down at all. I would no longer be watching shorts here in Apple, right? Just gonna say that right now. Just make it very simple. I'm not watching shorts here anymore, okay? In fact, what I would watch is if we do clear above 269, I'm looking for longs in this chart, right? So I'm not long the chart right now, but if you do build over 269, this is a long. This is a long now, right? Because we're holding demand zone below. As long as we maintain 265, I am maintaining, right? So I would maintain that bullish sentiment here. So let's look to see if we can build above 269 for longs back in 272. I'll be looking for the break and retest type trade here for the upside move. That's what I'm seeing here in Apple, right? No longer the case of being relatively weak. It's actually relatively strong going into our Tuesday morning, okay? Simple chart here. Nvidia. So Nvidia is moving down with the overall market, and obviously because of your Palantir sell, right? Palantir sell, Nvidia is somehow moving with it, right? Nvidia is moving in tandem with the Palantir sell. We spoke about one thing yesterday. We said, hey guys, watch the bull flag continuation, right? We said watch the bull flag. Nvidia's bull flagging, and if you guys look into what happened yesterday, it happened, right? We actually saw a continuation of the bull flag. You saw us continue into the bull flag highs, which made sense. And then now, where are we? We fell back down lower. The one thing I'd watch today here on Nvidia's chart is this big level down below, 20150. You can see 20150, 2150. If we clear below 20150, I would look for a downside into the 195s, right? And 195 is my bounce area. Look for longs. So if you're trading this, scenario 1, you're shorting under 20150. Scenario 2, you're looking for longs at 195. I'm doing that, right? That's what I would be doing here. Those are the wheres for me. The short under 20150 looks quite good. Why would I say that? Because if you look at this chart for a second, you have a very aggressive upside move here between 20150 and the 195s. And given the fact that if we clear under 20150, I would expect an equal and opposite magnitude move down to fill the, I wouldn't say a gap because this is not a gap, but I would say to fill the aggressive move up, I think we'll see an equal and opposite magnitude move down under 2150. So again, I'm not short right now, but I would short under 2150 for the downside move, okay? Now, of course, don't get caught in traps though. Like don't get caught in this trap. Nvidia is a classic trapper, right? So we see us under 2150, right? It looks for a short and then it just does this, right? Then you know what I'm going to say Wednesday morning. I'm going to say, guys, shorts got cooked, shorts got trapped, look for upside, right? So just be aware of that. 2150 has to clear with conviction. If you see confirmation there, high volume breaks, then of course you can look for shorts back at the demand lows, right? That's what I'm seeing today here on the Nvidia chart. Moving on, AMD. AMD's chart. AMD reports earnings in the after hour session today. Do not get all horned up in AMD shorts. I know it looks good. I see it. Trust me. AMD looks like it wants to pull back to our demand zone below, right? If I didn't have the big E tomorrow, if I didn't have the big earnings tomorrow, I'll be looking for I'll be looking for shorts here under 253. I would say, guys, at market open, let's look for this. Let's look for a pop and fader, right? A little pop and fader move for the downside trade back into lows here. I would say this is our top watch today, right? But because AMD has earnings in the after hour session today, I can't say that with conviction because I would expect this to unfortunately do this, right? A little bit of choppiness, a little bit of consolidation because of the big E tomorrow, or big E in the after hours today, right? So yes, I think downside is more likely than not here on AMD as long as you're under 253 because we are doing what Nvidia should be doing, right? We're doing this little break of the Friday, October 24 highs. And if you go to Nvidia, where's that Friday, October 24 highs? It's like right here, right? I shouldn't really say, wait, where is the Friday, October 24th highs? Where is that highs? Where is the Friday, October 24th highs? It's completely different here. No, guys, I'm completely wrong about that. Everything I just said in the last 25 seconds, admit it. Do not completely omit that. That was made no sense. Okay, that made no sense. AMD October 24th high is very different from Nvidia October 24th. It's a very different chart. But anyway, the same idea here though, right? Below this 253 level, I would expect downside back into these 243s, right? And so that's my expectation here. We have AMD earnings, so be careful of getting overly convicted in that idea because I just don't know if it's going to happen today. Okay, let's move away from this chart. SMH chart. SMH gapping down in a demand zone below, but we are holding a gap level, right? So the gap level here in the SMH is 356. This is your bull bear pivot, right? If we lose 356, we're going to gap into 353, and that again is another level down below. Keep that as a side watch, right? So if we lose 356, we're going to move into 353. It's very similar to every other chip name today, right? You have the AMD levels, the Nvidia levels, right? They're all just at the critical support zones and getting ready to break. Do we hold the levels and we go higher, or do we fade the levels and go lower, right? This is your demand zone. I cannot short the semiconductor sector. I cannot short this right now, right? Reasonably, how can I go short on this chart? I can't go short on this chart as long as it's holding 356. I could look for shorts maybe the 360s, right? I can go short maybe the 365s, sure, right? Or I can go short under 356. But in no world am I saying, let's short the semiconductor. In no world would I ever say, on a gap up, let's go long right now. On no world would I say, let's buy puts on a gap down, right? We have to see us either break down the level, look for a gap and go, right? Or look for a retest of our supply zone. And I would expect retest of the supply zone on the semiconductor sector. I would expect us to retest supply. And that's why even on SPY, if I'm looking to short today, I would expect us to probably retest our supply, right? That's a very common theme going into gap downs and gap ups, right? So keep that on the watch today, right? Let's move on. Tesla. Tesla chart. Tesla is pulling back to some demand below. Yesterday we talked about the 460 level here on Teslita. Rav took this trade on Tesla. Very good trade, right? The 460 break and retest. If you guys recall, we spoke about this literally in the pre-market session. We said if we see 460 clear above this high here, right? The Tesla 460s, then we'll see upside back into 470, right? And that was almost perfectly what happened, right? A little bit higher, but this was almost perfectly what happened. You saw the breakout, the pullback, the retest. I think he actually longed it. I think he longed this chart right on the retest of that 460, right? He longed right on that candle here. Incredible long opportunity for an upside move into highs, right? This was a really good trade going into our Monday morning, right? Now today's session here on Tesla, what do you do now? Well, my bias is that we are bullish above the 460s and we're bearish below the 460s. I don't really see a trade here, but if we do, okay, I literally said I don't see a trade here, but I'm going to give you guys a trade. So, but under 450, I would look for a trap buyer scenario and a short down move lower. So that's the only thing I would trade here today. Is either going to be a 460 build or a 450 failure and move down lower. Okay, those are the wares today. The wares number one, the wares number two. I don't want to get involved here between the 460s and the 450s. Between here is the dead zone. Okay, this is the dead zone between 460 and 450. If we can clear above the highs, upside continuation. If we clear below the lows, downside continuation. Right, that's what I'm seeing here today on these on these charts. Okay, you think it'll be number 2? Sure, it's very possible. I think I would actually be leaning more towards number 2 as well, right? I kind of like that trade today, right? So let's see what happens today here on the Tesla chart. Okay. All right. Let's do a few more names, guys. What did you guys trade yesterday? What did you guys trade yesterday in the chat? I'm curious. Did you guys trade anything? Apple, Tesla, SPY. What did you guys do? I forgot to ask you guys that before we dived into our charts today. Tesla, SPY, Apple, SPY, Amazon, Meta, Tesla. A lot of Teslas. Everyone traded Tesla. Few Apples, few Teslas, few SPYs. Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Let's go over a few more tickers. Let's go over Meta. Oh shit! Wow, Meta really weak. Meta is still very weak. The problem with Meta right now is it hasn't really given you that retest, right? So Meta, unfortunately, not giving retest here, and the straight down moves are hard to short into. I don't want to short here at the 430s or 630s rather. I would look for shorts, but on a pop. Okay, so I would watch that 678 short. That's still the same level I'd watch. I think we spoke about this yesterday. I think we said 678 pop and fade yesterday, right? And it didn't do that. It didn't do anything, rather, actually. It did nothing yesterday. So today's session, obviously, still a little bit weak. We have 646 as a previous Friday low, right? And we broke under the Friday's lows. So there was some levels we're missing here in Meta, right? There was definitely a level. We definitely should have had this. If I was trading Meta, we should have had this as a level. You can see the low here, 646.50, and then you see a low here. And we broke underneath it, right? So today's session here on Meta, I'll look for that pop and fade here at 646.50, right? That would be my main watch day here on this Meta chart, okay? Let's move on. Let's go over a few more tickers. Guys. Let's go over as many as we can. Let's go over Palantir. Let's go over Palantir. So Mike short Palantir, and I think Mike's going to be a very happy camper this morning. He's going to be a very happy camper, and this is a nice chart, right? But you know that this is the biggest thing is this 188 rather, right? You see 188 as your level below. You know 188 is your critical level down below. By the way, Natty the Wave. Thank you, Natty the Wave. That is much appreciated. I didn't even see that you did that. Thank you for the $5. That is very kind of you. And yes, I'll go over Uber after this ticker. Thank you very much, Natty the Wave. Right. So Palantir, obviously 188 is your big level. If you fail back below 188, downside into 175. But 188 is your big level, right? So if you're short Palantir, right, into these highs, then you probably should be getting some exposure off in 188s, I would expect, right? Because you know that this is demand below. So keep that in your list of things to do today, right? If you're short the Palantir in the highs, you're probably looking to see does it develop a hold here at 188. If it fails below 188, then this is going to sell lower into 172, and you're going to absolutely print on those shorts, right? 188 is your big bull bear pivot though, so be aware of that going into your session. Okay, Uber, last ticker, Uber for Natty the Wave. Let's go Uber. Uber is selling off. I think Uber is a good stock, but it just at the right price. If I'm watching Uber, I'm watching one thing in Uber, guys. I know you're not going to like this, but some of these tickers, I'm not going to go over the ticker in a way I wouldn't trade it. I only will talk about the ways I would trade this. And I know you may not like that, but this is what I would do in Uber, right? My main watch is to look, do we get a pullback to this shelf right here? The shelf that I'm watching on Uber is 82. If you can get the pull to 82, I'm looking for longs 82, right? So that's the only big level I have here on Uber is 82. Let's look for that pullback long for either a short-term scalp off demand or even a potential long-term trade or a swing trade, okay? That's all I have for today's session, guys. We had a beautiful pre-market. This is obviously some interesting price action going into our morning. We had a good day yesterday. Let's continue the momentum today. I'll see you guys all for trading. Bye, guys.